Hi, and welcome everybody to another studio workshop here from HOFA-College. This time it's about our own plugins from HOFA Plugins, new plugins for HOFA System. There are three new out, brand new this summer. It's a Transient Shaper, it's the it's the IR Verb, and it's the Master Limiter. I would like to go through these three plugins, tell you a little bit about system, a little bit about those different plugins, and of course, because we are here at HOFA College, I want to show some possibilities how you can use them in the mix, how you can use those plugins to improve your mixes and masterings. As always, feel free to ask your questions in the chat, and I will be happy to answer them. You have seen them in the window before. These three plugins. I would like to start with the Transient Shaper, which is really, for me, it's a great plugin. I was really surprised when I first heard it from the plugin company, and great job again. But I don't want to say too much. Just talk about the plugin and not about our company. So this is the plugin. And what is System, may one of you or the other ask. System is not only a plugin, or are various plugins which you can use standalone. You can do that, but it's more than that. You can use all the different plugins from System in System as the environment system, and you can combine them and make your own channel strips or make really crazy special effects and use whatever you want. There are really crazy routing options. There are a lot of fantastic effects, from compressors to reverbs to flangers, modulation effects, saturation plugins, whatever. Great stuff. I love to work with it, but also I love working with the plugins standalone. And the System Transient Shaper is one of those new plugins. I guess most of you know what a Transient Shaper is. And what transients are. Mostly this is used on drums, of course, but every signal almost has transients, of course, and sometimes it's necessary to shape them, not only to enhance them or boost them, but also it may be necessary to soften them and to decrease the transients. The Transient Shaper not only is a tool to form the transients, but also to form the sustain phase of a signal. That's pretty interesting. I will show you that later. For that, I have to put on my headphone. Just give me a sec. All right, here we go. Yeah, let me start with this. For demonstration, I've put in a little drum loop. It's a percussion. It's an overhead signal from a drum set, actually, but it shows pretty much what can be done with the Transient Designer. Without any plugin and any processing, it sounds like that. I looped it. So, all right, I inserted the system and as a plugin in Cubase, and in System I used the Transient Shaper as a plugin in the System environment. So there we go. You have two big controls. This is a transient control and this is a sustain control. Speaks for itself, of course. I reset them both to 0. Again, the signal, it sounds like that. And then I slowly turn in the transient control. Now it starts getting interesting. This is not a full 100%, but I think it's enough for showing. Without. And that's what exactly transients are for, to bring something forward, up front in the mix, and to bring it closer to you and make it more present in the mix. And that's so easy and so convenient with that transient control. And on the other side, there's a sustain control. I reset the transient control and play with a sustain control. Or the other way around. So this may be a great idea to use such a plugin, for example, when you got a drum recording with not enough room information in the overheads and no room signals, and you really want to have that room information, and then such a sustain control can be great. Just listen to what's happening when I turn in the sustain control, like there's more ambience on the room signal or on the overhead signal. Of course, it sounds a little bit crashed now, but that's just what I wanted. Or you want a rather dry sound and your overhead is too wet, there's too much room information on it. Just the other way around. Nice for an extra cool, dry drum sound, 70s or 80s style. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with that, just with these two controls. But of course, sometimes it's not really necessary to boost the whole frequency range of a signal for the transients. Most or many times the transients lie in the present range, and you can use the transient and sustain EQs to shape the transients, or mainly to just enhance the transients in a certain frequency range. And you have this control for this for the center frequency, and you can shift it wherever you want. So just use it on this one here. As you can see, and here the transients are only enhanced in this frequency range with a rather wide Q factor, but not in the whole frequency range, not full range. So without the EQ, the transients sound like that, full range, and like that with the EQ. So that's another interesting thing, especially when you're working on single signals. I want to show that later on a snare sample. And it's great to use it for shaping signals, but also you can of course use it the other way around, even in combination with a sustain. Louder transients and less sustain, it's possible. So that's really what it is. It's a shaper. You can use this tool as a sound shaper, not only for transients, but for the sustain and the decay phase of a signal as well. And that's really making it so versatile, so interesting, that you can really shape things, especially like drum and percussion signals, but not only drums and percussion. But if you're working with loops, for example, from different sources, maybe you got your own library on the computer and you have a certain loop that you really want to use in your production, but it's not it's a little bit too lush or too soft, and you want to to enhance the transients and to make it more crispy and more aggressive in the mix, a transient shaper can be such a great tool. So a normal way to use it, of course, is, and I think most of the people use it on snares and toms. That's, I think, yeah, like 90% of the times a transient shaper is used. So that's what I prepared here too. Let's go to this one. This is a snare groove, just one bar. And it's like a typical Ludwig dampened snare that maybe you know it from your recordings, and it has that certain sound that I really love on recordings, but still it needs a little bit more punch and bite, and that's what a transient designer or shaper can do. Okay, here we go. Well, first, let's do it without EQ. So it's already a little bit too much, so turn it down. Without. And it's, yeah, of course, it's a little bit louder. That's lies in the nature of the plugin or of a transient shaper. But it's much more crispy and present and can cut easily through the mix like that. And of course, the transient EQ is working here as well. Maybe for a snare like that, which has a very loud fundamental tone at, I think it's 170 or 180, it's rather low, hertz, it can be interesting not to boost the transient full range, but only in the presence range, maybe even a little bit higher than that, like around 3-4 K. Sounds so much more vivid and alive with that transients. So, but since it is part of a system, it can do a little bit more. It's not only a plugin you can use as a standalone plugin, but you can also, of course, do stuff after or before it. You can, for example, use a gate maybe better before the transient designer. Let's try it, whatever happens. Yeah, would work fantastically, or maybe the other way around after the transient designer as well. So you're so free to build whatever you want in your signal chain, and it's so easy just to drag and drop another plugin. One thing I really would like to show, maybe I want to show it with a overhead loop again, is the possibility to use a sidechain. Many of you probably know what a sidechain is and how most people, especially in electronic music, are using it. For example, to get a pumping effect when you're sidechaining the bass or some synth sounds with a kick drum. In this case, I want to use the sidechain to change the way the transient shaper is working. So it's easy. I use enable sidechain insert, and it's already there. I inserted a parametric EQ in the sidechain. That means the transient shaper is not changing the sound of the signal in the way of the frequency spectrum, but it's reacting to a different sound design, because it's this one is filtered only to the fundamental range of the snare. It would sound of the EQ. Sound like that's a sidechain signal. No loop, that's why. So the Transient Shaper is reacting to this signal in the sidechain, in the detection path, so to say. I turn it off. And maybe you hear the difference with this. Also the hi-hat gets a little bit more transients, and if I don't want that, I just want to shape the transients mainly of the snare. That's an easy way. Or the other way around, if you maybe want to work mainly on the high frequencies. The hi-hat is getting louder by that, and yeah, it's a nice way to shape the sound of such a loop within only one tool, and that's a thing of HOFA system. It's so easy to create new routings, new signal flows, and it's easy. Just try it out. It's really it's worth it. So. We have 3 plugins and we have 45 minutes, so let's move on to the next one. This is the IR verb. You've seen it before. And is IR, it means impulse response. And if you are an owner of the IQ reverb, you have maybe seen this display before. It's of course inspired by the IQ reverb, and it has some features of the IQ reverb, but it's part of the system family, so it means you can use all the things you have in system, or the other plugins, and all the other possibilities and routing options. Yeah, it's basically a impulse response, a convolution reverb. And yeah, let's go through the features. It's pretty easy to explain. It's nothing complicated. I prepared another drum loop. Just give me a second. Where does it start here? All right, without anything, turn it off and completely dry. So this is a drum pattern. Okay, and it's inserted again as in the signal chain. It's not used as a send reverb, send effect. You can of course use it as a standard send effect, but for some other options, it's sometimes easier to use it as an insert. So this one is on 13% now. Oh, it's here. Here we go. Okay, this is maybe a little bit. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so this is a standard default program. It's a large, famous, bright plate, which is also available in the. It's available in the IQ reverb, and all those impulse responses you have in the in IQ reverb, you can also use in the IR verb. And if you don't have any of the IQ or any of HOFA plugins, you can of course also use the free versions. There are free versions of all the plugins that are inside system, and the reverb, for example, has a limited amount of impulse responses in the freeware, and the Transient Shaper can not do all the sophisticated stuff, but the free version can use a transient control, and it's a nice start to in the system world with the free versions. And Caesar just asked in the chat if he has to buy these plugins. I think you are a student at HOFA College, so at least you can use them during your course, or maybe if you own the other HOFA plugins, they should be sent to you. Just write a mail to college@hofa.com. DE? I'm not sure. Send us an email, and you can we'll talk about that. So yeah, this is a plate and the reverb, and it has of course the normal features that the IQ Reverb has too. Of course, I have the dry-wet control. This is right here. And I have a time control and a size control. And that's something, yeah, I have to talk about because it's a little bit different from other reverbs. The time control, you can see it in the display here, is doing this. Or when I turn it down, it's doing that. And this is basically a change of the envelope, and it's kind of changing the levels of the decay time. And if I turn up the time, there's less dampening, and the reverb is it's louder during the end. And if I change, I put it down, it's getting quieter at an earlier time. So the time control is only changing the level of the reverb in the end, or toward the end, and the size control is changing the yeah, it's a time stretching actually, and it's as you can see, it's when I put it up 3 seconds, and here it's like this, 2 seconds, and here is 1 second at the same level. So it's a time stretching algorithm, and although it's a good one, you cannot do 200 or 300% with that size button, because it's changing the sound of the impulse response at a certain point. So, all right, let's check this out with a less loud long time. No, where's it? Here we go. And make it a little bit louder. And what you also can do, it's dividing the signal into early reflections and the tail, the reverb signal. And that's pretty interesting. For example, if you only want to use the early reflections as a color of the signal, turn it up. And on the other hand, the reverb sounds like this. And that's a nice feature that comes handy at certain times when you can separate early reflections and tail. This is not a reverb workshop, so I can't go into too much detail, but it's nice to have. Pre-delay, that's clear, it's obvious. Shouldn't do that too much on drums. but maybe I love 11 milliseconds on drums. Okay, and another nice feature is this one. It's easy to understand what it's doing. I cut the signal, and I can also fade the signal towards the end. And then I make like a gated or a non-linear reverb. Nice to have. So. And everything in real time. And of course, there are a lot of different impulse responses. You can find them in the browser. Let's move it over here. Just a little bit more place. And yeah, it's easy to find, even though there are a lot of impulse responses because I have the IQ Reverb on my computer, of course. Let's say I want only drum reverbs. So I look for drums. See here. And I only want reverbs that are between 0.5 and 1.5 seconds, RT60, reverberation time. And I don't want very bright reverbs. So there's still some left, and maybe I want to use only rooms. Okay, here we go. We have rooms that are not too bright and are rather short with less than 1.5 seconds. So I can use these. Come on. Now these or these. And everyone's different, of course. Stop it. So, yeah, that's a browser of the IQ Reverb, which is really easy to understand, I guess, and yeah, and it's making it very easy to find the suitable reverb. If you have a certain idea of what the reverb is should sound like, you can do it and find it easily in the browser. Yeah, and something else I would like to show with the reverb, just to give you an idea what's possible if you use the system plugins not only as standalone plugins, but as a part of the system family. There's another preset I created, just very easy. Maybe I should make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, it should be okay there. That's okay. Right. So this is the reverb. You can see it here, but I put it into a feedback module, inserted a delay in front of the reverb, and in the feedback loop, I put a saturator for the some kind of distortion or grunge and whatever, and a filter after that, only in the feedback loop. And after everything, I put a flanger tape flanger into the signal. And let's first turn it or bypass it. That's my test sample, and the effect sounds like this. Make it a little bit more feedback. I want more reverb. I want a longer delay. More feedback. And then I want to do weird flanger automations. Not too much feedback, or else it starts to overshoot. yeah, just to give you an idea of what's possible with a system plugin and the system environment, and you can do with that. Okay, so yeah, let's move to the next one, to the next rather interesting tool, which I can say is very, very interesting and something special. It's a master limiter, and of course it's part of the system family, but it's also an instrument you can use as a standalone. Maybe a limiter is not all the time used, but often used as a standalone plugin in a group or the master channel to crank up the volume and to increase the loudness of a signal. And it's we have the IQ limiter and from HOFA plugins, as you probably know. But this one is different. It's you can use it in system. That's one difference. But it has also some special features which I like to show you here. This is a version as it comes up, which is also available as a freeware plugin with a smooth algorithm. And that's the interesting thing about the limiter. It has a kind of a safety that's built into the algorithm or into the algorithms. 3 of the 5 different algorithms are almost impossible to distort, and you cannot make it louder than it should be. And this safety depends on the algorithm you're using. And the smooth algorithm is the one that's, of course, that's why it's called like that. It's the softest, and this one is not used to make really loud electronic mixes, but it's best used on really, let's say, sensitive material like choirs or acoustic music, or maybe even classical music, but nobody really would turn up a limiter too much in classical music. But still, you can do it without risking any distortion, and that's I want to show you this on the first example that I have here that Fabian gave to me. Okay, you see nothing is happening because it's below the threshold, so I have to crank up the volume. To do that, I turn down the fader a bit. Okay, let's make it louder. You see, this is a reduction. And as you can see, even if I turn up the input, it doesn't get louder anymore. And up from that point, when it doesn't get louder, you shouldn't turn it up anymore, because this is a safety. And as a visual information display, you can use this one. It's a so-called histogram, and you can see what's happening. And it's getting clearer if you use that one. So, getting up, louder. Now you can see the reduction. So, and now we are at the point where it's not getting louder anymore. And this is that's why the smooth algorithm is not used for any signals that should get loud, but signals that should not distort and are not supposed to be as loud as an electronic club track. And yeah, that's the smooth algorithm. The next one, and that's probably one of the most used algorithm, is the transparent mode. It's designed to have best possible loudness without as few distortions and almost no distortions at all, and the compromise between loudness and a clean sound, and that can do rather loud without destroying any transients, without adding any distortions to the signal. That's a nice one. So I crank it up. Hear it, it's getting louder. Still. The transients sound really nice and punchy. So that's the most versatile algorithm to use in many mixes, especially when there are drums and punchy snare sounds like in that mix. Yeah, that's the transparent mode. I also had activated the true peak settings. You can see also the LUFS display in short-term measurement. So, what's the next one? Loud. As the name says, it's supposed to make loud masters. So I turn down the volume a little bit for that. This one is starting to change the sound a little bit, but it allows a really high loudness level, and can be used for many styles, from rock to electronic styles, whatever. And there are other algorithms still. So this one is the next one. Pump. This is for the rather bass-heavy signals. So I change this example. But first without, get you an idea of the sound. I turn down the volume. The LUFS level is getting really to a high value, and there's a lot of bass energy, and still the sound is not distorting. There are no audible distortions and artifacts in that regard. So this is really for stuff like that, electronic music with a lot of a loud low end and a lot of bass energy. And there's a fifth algorithm, and yeah, that one speaks for itself. The name, again, I start from 0. But as you can hear, it starts distorting, of course, at a certain point, but not really early. But this one is for the loud stuff, really like electronic tracks and club music that has to be somewhere around between 5 and 6 LUFS, which is insane, but it is possible, and the distortion also might be even though it's not really like heavy saturation, or don't get me wrong, it's only every limiting is happening with a minimum amount of distortion, but we try to get always the best compromise between loudness and as little distortion as possible. But this algorithm, the hard one, you can really crank up the volume, and yeah, of course, something is happening that it's getting that loud. So whatever you want to achieve, it's up to you. It's in these 5 algorithms, you can have a loud and maybe not that much dynamic anymore signal, or you can have a really still transparent mix or master with a more than sufficient loudness. And in most genres, loudness war is over, but still there are some genres that need loud mixes and need loud masterings. And for that, try out the pump or the hard or even the loud algorithm. Yeah, you can do a lot with that. So these are the 3 new plugins in System. And if there are any questions, feel free to ask them now. And I would love if you could use them in your mixes. Everybody who's part of the HOFA-College community, of course, can use it during your courses, or just right now there's a special with the diploma. You can you get all HOFA plugins as a gift. So would be worth it. Let me say a few words before I take off. And there's another interesting thing happening. That's the song contest, the HOFA song contest, as every year during the last 5 years, I think. There's a contest with great prizes to win. Over 25,000 euros this time, from money, cash prizes, to really interesting stuff from our sponsors, software interfaces, headphones, whatever. Great stuff to win. And it's for free. Present your song to the world, load it up, share it with the community and with your friends. And it's both jury voting and community voting. So if you have some friends who can vote for you, or give your song to the social community out there, feel free. It's a great possibility and great option to show your song, your band, or your producing to the world. It's international. It's all over the world, and it's a lot of fun. So this was it for me. Great you tuned in. I hope you visit us next time, and I wish you a nice evening and have a good day. Bye bye.